The door no one was meant to open. In the burning summer heat of a forgotten rail town, widowed rancher Caleb Rowan heard a sound that should not exist. A weak, broken cough. It came from inside a sealed freight car, sitting alone on the siding where no one bothered to look. Caleb stopped walking. The sound came again, softer this time, like it was running out of strength. Bitter Junction was the kind of place trains passed through, but never stayed. Dust hung in the air, cold smoke mixed with sweat, and old with the sun pressed down so hard it felt like it could crush the breath from your lungs. Caleb had not planned to stop long, just supplies, ammunition, salt lamp oil, then back to his ranch 10 miles north, where the land still felt honest. He had lost his wife Anna to fever 3 winters ago. Since then, he preferred silence. He spoke more to his horses than to people. He worked alone, ate alone, slept in a house built for a family that never came. Grief does that. It makes quiet feel safer. The cough came again. Caleb turned toward the freight car. His boots crunched over gravel. The metal sides of the car were hot enough to burn skin. He pressed his ear against the wood. Inside, something moved. A child. His chest tightened. He tried the door. It was Loctite, the kind of lock meant to keep cargo safe during long journeys. Caleb looked around. The station office was empty. The town was half asleep from heat and laziness. He went back to his wagon and pulled out a pry bar. When the lock finally snapped, the sound echoed too loud in the still air. The door slid open. The smell hit first. Fear, sickness, sweat, and something worse. Inside the dim light, a small shape huddled against the far wall. A girl, barely more than bones, wrapped in a dirty blue dress. Her hair was tangled, her lips cracked, her eyes too big for her face. She was burning with fever. Caleb stepped inside, slowly lowering himself to her level. He spoke softly, like you do with wounded animals. "I am not here to hurt you." She tried to speak, but only a dry cough came out. Her hand loosened and something fell from her fingers. A piece of paper. Caleb picked it up. 2 words written in shaky letters. No one's child. His jaw clenched. Someone had done this. Someone had locked a child inside a metal box and left her to die in the heat. Caleb did not think. He lifted her. She weighed almost nothing. She pressed her face against his chest and breathed like each breath might be her last. He carried her straight across the street to the general store. The shopkeeper froze when he saw them. "Water," Caleb said, "clean cloth." No questions were asked. The girl barely drank. Her eyes fluttered closed. Caleb wrapped her tight and laid her in the wagon. He drove harder than he ever had. Dust swallowed the road. The sun burned low. More than once he checked to make sure she was still breathing. When he reached his ranch, the sky was turning gold. He carried her inside and laid her on the table that once belonged to Anna. He cleaned her wounds. He cooled her fever. He stayed beside her through the night, listening to each breath. Near dawn, the fever broke. Caleb slumped back exhausted. He looked at the girl, sleeping finally peaceful. He picked up the paper again. No one's child. He folded it and set it aside. "You are now," he whispered. "You are mine." Morning came slow and quiet. Caleb Rowan had not slept more than a few moments at a time. He sat in the chair beside the table, watching the small chest rise and fall. Every breath felt like a promise kept. The girl did not wake. When sunlight crept to the window, her face was pale, but no longer gray. The fever heat was gone, leaving her skin cool and damp. Caleb stood and stretched his aching back. He moved around the kitchen, careful not to make noise. He warmed water on the stove and stirred a thin broth, using the last of his dried vegetables. When he returned to her side, her eyes were open. She stared at him without fear, but without trust either, like a creature waiting to see which way the danger would come. "Good morning," Caleb said softly. Her lips moved. No sound came. He dipped a spoon into the broth and brought it to her mouth. She hesitated, then swallowed slowly, carefully. That was enough for now. Caleb set the bowl aside and sat back down. "You are safe here," he said. "No one will hurt you." She studied his face like she was memorizing it. After a long moment, she whispered, "They said I was nothing." The words struck deep. Caleb leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees. They lied. She swallowed hard. "They put me in the dark, said no one would come. Well, I came." Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. "What is your name?" Caleb asked. She shook her head. "You do not remember, or you do not want to say." Another shake. "That is all right. You can have time." He reached for the folded paper on the table and pushed it farther away. That word does not belong to you anymore. She watched him do it. He stood and walked to the window. Outside, the land stretched wide clean, and quiet the hills rolled like sleeping animals. This place had healed him in ways he never admitted. Maybe it could heal her too. When he turned back, she was watching him with a little less fear. My name is Caleb Rowan. This is my ranch. She nodded slowly. Do you have a place to go? She shook her head again. Caleb felt the weight settle in his chest. Then you stay. Her fingers tightened in the blanket. That day passed gentle, and slow Caleb fed the horses with one eye always on the house. He returned, often checking on her, bringing water, cooling cloth silence. She slept most of the time. That night she woke crying soft, broken sounds pulled from somewhere deep. Caleb sat with her until the sounds faded. On the second day she sat up. She drank more broth, ate a little bread. She watched everything Caleb did. On the third day she spoke again. What do I call you? Caleb smiled a little. You can call me Caleb. She tried the word, felt strange in her mouth. Caleb. He nodded. What do I call myself? She asked. Caleb thought of Anna, her love for wildflowers, her wish for a daughter. How about Rose? The girl tested the name quietly. Rose. She nodded. That day she walked a few steps on weak legs, holding the table edge. Caleb stayed close, but did not touch unless she asked. Healing needed space. That night, she told him more. A man, tall, nice clothes, smelled like smoke and money. He hurt my mama. Caleb stayed still. He said, I saw too much. Her hands trembled. Caleb reached out and covered them. You are safe here, Rose. But he has papers, she said. He said he could take me anywhere. Caleb felt something hard settle inside him. No paper outdrank the child life. On the fourth day, Caleb rode into town alone. He needed supplies and answers, and somewhere deep inside he knew, opening that door had started something that would not stop until the truth came out. Caleb Rowan did not like leaving the ranch with Rose alone even for a few hours, but supplies were running low and questions were piling up like storm clouds. He left food within her reach, showed her where the bell rope hung, and told her to pull it if she felt afraid. She nodded, brave but quiet. Caleb rode hard toward town, dust rising behind him in the morning, felt wrong too, still like the land itself was holding its breath. Bitter Junction looked the same as ever half-asleep men, sitting in shade, pretending not to see trouble coming. Caleb hitched his horse and stepped into the general store. The shopkeeper glanced up, then froze. You again, he said quietly. Caleb leaned in. You hear anything lately about a girl, about a woman dying? The shopkeeper hesitated, then spoke. Low woman found dead near Cutter Creek. Few weeks back, sheriff said robbery. No family. No one claimed her. Caleb's jaw tightened. Any officials asking questions? Man came through well-dressed, said he worked for county welfare, asking about lost children. Caleb felt the pieces locked together. Outside the store he saw him. Tall, clean coat, gold ring with a dark stone catching the light. The man stood near the station, speaking with the station master like he owned the place. Caleb did not stare. He mounted his horse and left. But the man watched him go. That night, Caleb checked every door, every window. He loaded his rifle and kept it close. Rose sat at the table drawing shapes in dust. He is coming, she said. Caleb knelt in front of her. He will not take you. She looked at him. He said he would. Then he does not know me. The next morning the rider came. The horse was well fed, the boots too clean, the confidence dangerous. The man smiled when he dismounted. Mr. Rowan, he said, pleasant voice, sharp eyes. Caleb did not offer his hand. Marcus Vale, the man, said, County Child Services. Caleb said nothing. You have a child here, Vale, continued, found wandering unattended. She was locked in a freight car, Caleb said. Tragic accidents happen, Vale replied. Caleb stepped forward, blocking the house. She stays. Vale smiled. Then you are a widower, single man. No papers, no rights. Caleb's voice was low. She is not leaving. Vale pulled folded documents from his coat, court order signed and sealed. From who? Judge Halvorson. Vale answered smoothly. Caleb knew that name, bought and paid for. You interfere, and I have you arrested, Vale said. Then bring the sheriff. Vale eyes hardened. I will return tomorrow. He mounted and rode away slow like he had all the time in the world. Rose stood in the doorway shaking. He will take me. Caleb knelt gripping her shoulders. Look at me. You are not going anywhere. That night, Caleb rode to the neighboring ranch. Old friends, honest people. They listened and believed. By dawn, plans were set. When Vale returned, he would not find a lone man. He would find a wall. Morning came with dust and hoofbeats. Vale arrived with the sheriff and 2 deputies. Caleb stood on the porch flanked by neighbors. Rose stood behind him, hands clenched in his coat. This is unlawful, Vale said. So is murder, Caleb replied. Vale laughed then. Rose stepped forward. You killed my mama. Silence fell. The sheriff looked between them. What did you say, child? Rose's voice shook, but did not break. He heard her, I saw it. Vale snapped, she is confused. Caleb spoke, I have witnesses, documents will surface. Vale moved his hand toward his coat. Rifles came up. The sheriff swallowed. Enough, he said. We will investigate. Vale glared, you will regret this. Maybe, Caleb said, but she will live. Vale turned away, fury burning through his calm. The fight had begun, and there would be no quiet ending. The days after confrontation felt stretched tight like wire pulled too far. Caleb Rowan did not let Rose out of his sight. Neighbors took turns watching the road. Rifles stayed close. Sleep came light and broken. The sheriff did not return, but neither did Marcus Vale. That worried Caleb more than open threats. Men like Vale did not stop, they waited. On the 3rd night, a rider came hard just after dark. It was Eli Mercer from the West Ranch. Dust covered fear on his face. They burned Old Tucker Barn, Eli said, left a message carved into the wood. Caleb's chest tightened. The message was simple. Give her back. Rose heard it. She stood silent, gripping Caleb's hand. They are angry, she whispered. They are afraid, Caleb said. Afraid of what? Of the truth. The next morning, Caleb rode into town again. This time, he went straight to the courthouse. Judge Halvorson was not there, gone to the city for business. Caleb smiled without humor. In the street, he found Doc Whitman, the old physician. Doc, I need you. Whitman listened, eyes darkening, as Caleb spoke. I treated a woman weeks ago, Whitman said, beaten badly. She had a child. She was terrified, paid me in old coins, and fled before dawn. Caleb's heart pounded. Vale came to me too, Whitman. Continued, asked questions, offered money. What did you tell him? Nothing. Good. Whitman placed a hand on Caleb's shoulder. That child lived because you listened. That night, Caleb made a decision. Hiding Rose was not enough. The truth had to come out. He sent Eli riding east before dawn, carrying letters and names, everything Rose remembered, everything Whitman saw. By noon, Vale returned. This time with more men. They surrounded the ranch. Vale stepped forward, calm as ice. This ends today, Rowan. Caleb stepped out, Rose beside him. You will not take her. Vale raised his voice. You are harboring stolen property. Rose shouted, I am not property. Men shifted, uncomfortable. Vale face darkened. Caleb lifted his rifle, but did not aim. Listen, he said, you hurt a woman. You try to kill a child, you are done. Vale laughed, papers say otherwise. Before he could speak again, hooves thundered. Riders poured in from all sides, neighbors, friends, men, who remembered right from wrong. The sheriff arrived, last breathless. What is this madness? Vale snapped, arrest them all. The sheriff looked at Rose, then at Caleb, then at the gathered crowd. No, he said. Vale stepped back. Eli rode in hard, dust flying. Telegram, he shouted. From the city? The sheriff took it, read, then looked up pale. Judge Halvorson removed federal inquiry, opened mining fraud murder charges. Vale froze. You idiots, Vale hissed. Caleb stepped forward. You should have left the child alone. Vale reached for his coat. A dozen rifles cocked. Vale stopped. He was arrested in the dirt, screaming promises of return. Rose collapsed against Caleb, shaking. It is over, she asked. No, Caleb said, but it has started. That night, Rose slept for the first time without fear. Caleb sat on the porch watching stars. For the first time since Anna died, he felt something like hope. The days after Marcus Vale, arrests moved fast, like water breaking through a dam. Men came from the city, officials, investigators, lawyers, carrying papers and questions. Caleb Rowan answered all of them. He did not soften the truth. He did not hide anything. Rose sat beside him most of the time quiet, but watching, learning that telling the truth did not always lead to punishment. Vale's story unraveled quickly. The mine he claimed would bring prosperity was a lie. Investors were cheated, land was stolen, reports forged, lives ruined. The woman Rose called Mama had discovered everything. She tried to stop him. He tried to silence her. When that failed, he tried to erase the witness. A child. The town changed once the truth was known. Men who had looked away now spoke. Women who had lost savings stood together. Neighbors who once feared power now questioned it. Vale was taken east under guard. The sheriff returned lighter somehow, like a man who had put down a weight he carried too long. You did the right thing, he told Caleb. I just opened a door, Caleb said. Rose grew stronger every day. She laughed once chasing a barn cat. The sound stopped Caleb in his tracks. He realized he had not heard laughter in his home for years. One evening, Rose asked a question. What happens to me now? Caleb did not answer right away. He had thought about this more than he admitted. The law would come forms, courts, decisions made by men who did not know her. You stay here as long as you want, he said. She studied his face. Forever, if you choose. She smiled, small but real. Weeks passed. Winter crept down from the hills. One morning a letter arrived. From the city, a woman survived. The woman, she had been found alive, injured, hidden by fear. She was coming. Rose's hands shook as she read. Mama. She arrived 3 days later, thin, scarred, alive. Rose ran to her like her heart would burst. Caleb stepped back, watching something whole restore itself. The woman thanked him with tears and strength. You gave her back to me, she said. Caleb shook his head. She saved herself. They stayed for weeks, healing together. The law cleared. Caleb name papers were signed. Rose's choice mattered. In the end, she chose both. Her mother rebuilt her life in the city. Rose would go with her. Caleb helped pack, though his chest ached. On the morning they left, Rose hugged him tight. You said I was yours. I meant it, Caleb said. I will write. I will wait. The train carried them away. Caleb stood alone again, but the silence was different. It no longer felt empty. It felt full of something planted. Spring came. Another letter arrived. Then another. Years passed. One day Rose returned, taller, stronger, smiling. This time she did not leave. She called him Papa, and he answered. Years moved the way seasons do, steady and unstoppable. Caleb Rowan learned that some doors once opened never truly close. Rose grew into her life in the city, but she never grew away from him. Letters came first, careful and neat, then longer, filled with questions, dreams, worries, hopes. Caleb answered every one. He wrote about the ranch, the horses, the hills, the quiet mornings. He did not write about the nights when he sat on the porch thinking of the sound that had changed everything. Rose returned every summer. At first she was small again, riding in on the stagecoach, running toward him without hesitation. Later she arrived, taller, stronger, with books under her arm and fire in her eyes. She had her mother's courage and her own stubborn kindness. Caleb watched her grow the way you watch, weather come in a maze, powerless, grateful. When Rose was 16, she told him she wanted to fight men like Marcus Vale. She wanted laws to protect people who had no voice. Caleb nodded. Then you already know who you are. She smiled, the same smile she had the day she chose her name. The ranch was never empty again. There were conversations, laughter, arguments, silences that felt warm instead of cold. Caleb learned how to be a father by doing, not perfectly, not easily, but honestly. He learned that love was not something you waited to feel ready for. It was something you stepped into afraid, and learned along the way. One autumn, Rose came home quieter than usual. She sat beside him on the porch, watching the sun sink into the hills. Do you remember the train car? She asked. Caleb nodded. I still hear the door opening. She said, I still remember the light. Caleb swallowed. So do I. She turned to him. You saved me. No, Caleb said, you held on long enough for someone to hear you. She rested her head on his shoulder. I am glad it was you. Years later, Rose stood in a courthouse far from Bitter Junction, speaking with calm strength. Caleb sat in the back, row hat in hand, heart full. She spoke for people hurt by lies, by power, by silence. She spoke like someone who had once been called nothing and chose to become something. When it was over, she found him. Papa, she said, smiling. Caleb smiled back. Always, they walked out together into open air. Behind them, the doors closed. Ahead of them, life waited. Somewhere a train whistle echoed across open land. Somewhere a door waited to be opened. And somewhere a voice would be heard. Because one man once chose to listen. And that choice had changed everything.